Company dollar. Money left to brokerage after paying commissions. Brokers, parentheses, passed the broker's license, end parentheses, hire agents, parentheses, associate agents who pass the salesperson's license or the broker's license, end parentheses, who sell houses for sellers, parentheses, principals, end parentheses, or who help buyers buy a house, parentheses, who are also called principals, end parentheses. Associate brokers or associate agents usually get paid commission, parentheses, often 6%, split two ways, 3% for the selling agent and 3% for the buying agent, end parentheses. This sounds reasonably straightforward, but there are typically more details. For example, agents rarely get the full 3%. The employing broker gets a cut to run the brokerage business. The amount the broker gets after all commissions are paid to the associate brokers or associate agents is called the company dollar. The operational expenses of the brokerage are paid out of the company dollar. Fee simple estate, freehold estate, perpetual estate, estate of inheritance. An estate is the ownership interest or claim that a person has in real property. There are two types of overall estates, freehold estates and less than freehold estates. Freehold estates are owned and less than freehold estates are rented or leased. There are two types of freehold estates, estate in fee and a life estate. A life estate is based on the life of a specific person. Estates in fee are not based on the life of a person. There are two types of estates in fee, the fee simple absolute, which is the completely unrestricted in any way estate, and fee simple qualified. Fee simple qualified is based on some condition, parentheses, precedent or subsequent, end parentheses, like the property given to the city had to be used as a library or the donating family wanted the property back. Since an estate in fee is not based on the life of a person, it is a perpetual estate or an estate of inheritance. When a home is purchased under normal conditions in America, the estate is listed on the title as a fee simple absolute, which is a form of estate in fee, which is a form of freehold estate. An estate in fee is a perpetual estate or an estate of inheritance. Synonyms: estate in fee, perpetual estate, estate of inheritance. Related words: estate. Tenancy, right or method to hold property or an interest in property. Tenancy is the right to hold and use real property, or the method of holding a real property, or an explanation of an interest in real property. Interest in real property in relation to tenancy deals with co-ownership. Types of tenancy are common tenancy, joint tenancy, partnership tenancy, and community property tenancy. For example, joint tenancy has four unities: the unity of time, parentheses, all co-owners become owners at the same time, end parentheses; the unity of title, parentheses, all co-owners take title on the same deed, end parentheses; the unity of interest, all co-owners have an equal and undivided interest in the property; and the unity of possession, parentheses, co-owners have equal right to access and use the property, end parentheses. Of these four, common tenancy only shares that all parties have equal right of possession. Otherwise, common tenancy is the opposite of joint tenancy in that title can be taken at different times, title can be on separate deeds, and parties can have unequal interests. Tenancy is the right or method to hold property or an interest in property. Finance charge, entire cost of credit. The finance charge is the total cost of financing. The total cost may include fees and charges, including, quote, points, end quote. A point is 1% of the overall value of the loan. If the loan is $500,000, then a point is 1% or $5,000. Sometimes the lender will charge to reduce the interest rate on a loan. If 3 points of $500,000 of a $500,000 loan is charged, then the charge is $15,000. In terms of the finance charge, this may only be part of the finance charge. There may be origination fees, lender fees, etc., all of which has to be disclosed on the Uniform Lender Disclosure Form. The annual percentage rate, APR, takes into account the finance charge and divides it by the total loan to come up with an interest rate that includes all fees and charges, providing an interest rate which can be compared across finance options. The finance charge is the entire cost of credit. Related words, annual percentage rate, APR. Deed. Piece of paper transferring ownership. A deed is a piece of paper used to transfer ownership of real property from one person or entity to another. Title is a piece of paper which shows who owns a property. When there are two or more owners, or co-owners, we need more details on how title is held, so we have different types of tenancy. The details of the property are included in the type of estate, the two main types being leasehold estates and freehold estates. Back to the deed, because there are different ways to transfer a property, we use different deeds: grant deed, quitclaim deed, gift deed, warranty deed, and financing deeds. Trust deed and reconveyance deeds. Grant deed is used most often. A quitclaim deed can be used to clear a cloud on title. A gift deed is how a parent gives a property to a child or maybe a charity. Warranty deed is an old deed not commonly used today, and a finance deed, like a trust deed, is a voluntary lien used in financing the property, which essentially makes it easier for the lender to repossess, parentheses, a transfer, and that is why a deed is involved, end parentheses, the property in the event of default. A deed is a piece of paper transferring ownership. Related words, title, tenancy, estate, finance deed. Special assessment. One-time tax for a specific local purpose. A special assessment is a one-time tax for special local purposes or projects like building a road, putting electric utilities underground, or waterproofing a water reservoir that the city is responsible for. The actual money for the project is not from the special assessment tax. The money for the project is from a bond or bonds, which is a temporary loan from other tax revenues, which is backed up and eventually replaced by the special assessment tax revenue. Special assessment taxes are collected annually until the amount to pay back the bond is reached. Land sales contract, agreement to transfer property. There are many names for this type of transfer: land contract, land sales contract, conditional sales contract, agreement of sale, contract of sale, contract for deed, installment sales contract. The point of a land contract is the agreement or contract to transfer property from one person to another. The complications of such an agreement are in the deed, title, and financing. If seller agrees to sell to buyer, it is a land contract. However, if seller has a trust deed on the property, it is likely the trust deed agreement has a due on sale clause, parentheses, also called an acceleration clause, end parentheses. The due on sale clause says the note is due in full upon transfer, which is exactly what a land contract is, an agreement to transfer the property. Related words, due on sale clause, acceleration clause. Principle of substitution. Basis of the appraisal process. The principle of substitution is the basis of the appraisal process. The purpose of an appraisal is for the appraiser to give his or her opinion on the fair market value of a real property. The fair market value is what a ready, willing, and able buyer would pay a willing seller. The idea behind the principle of substitution is that if another property sold for a certain price, and that property can be substituted for another, parentheses, with modifications according to standard practices, end parentheses, then the price of the one that hasn't sold yet can be determined with some accuracy. This is why one of the most popular methods of appraisal is the comparison method. The comparison method uses, quote, comps, end quote, to find suitable substitute properties for the one being examined or appraised. The principle of substitution is the basis for the appraisal process. Related words: appraisal, fair market value, comparison method, comps. Express grant easement. Servient tenement agrees to easement in writing. An easement is the right to use land owned by someone else. An easement has a dominant tenement who benefits from the easement and a servient tenement who bears the burden of the easement. Types of easement include express grant easement, express reservation easement, implied grant easement, implied reservation easement, easement by necessity, easement by prescription, and easement in gross. An express grant easement is one that is agreed to in writing by the servient tenement, typically appearing on the deed and usually recorded by the dominant tenement. An express grant easement is one agreed to in writing by the servient tenement. Related words: easement. Fair Housing Act of 1988, one more step toward equality in housing. The Fair Housing Act of 1988 is an extension of the Civil Rights Act of 1968, parentheses, Title 8, end parentheses, which is an extension of the Civil Rights Act of 1866, each one a step towards removing discrimination from housing in America. The Fair Housing Act is what has led to the requirement of real estate professionals posting the Equal Opportunity Housing Provider logo, parentheses, the house with the equals inside of it, end parentheses, and the professional code of ethics that real estate professionals agree to follow. The Fair Housing Act gave the Department of Urban Development, HUD, the authority to receive complaints, investigate, and enforce through one of its administrative law judges the regulations of the Fair Housing Act. The Fair Housing Act of 1988 is one more step toward equality in housing. Related words: Department of Urban Development, HUD, administrative law judge.